Hi, I just arrived here in Nicaragua, and my son, Micah, and I are down here together for a couple of different things. And yeah, I don't know why there's like this little dot that keeps showing up here. Let me just see. Yeah, this is working. Anyway, I wanted to kind of talk to you. Well, first of all, I'm down here with an associate of ours with One Nation, One Day that we're launching here in Nicaragua, which I'm so excited about. And I don't know how much you've been a part of this community, but my name is Dani Johnson, and I was formerly a homeless woman 25 years ago and started a business from the trunk of my car in a payphone booth and made my first million in 2 years. This all happened by the time I was 23. Today, I'm a mom of 5, grandmother, soon to be of 8. Shocking. Anyway, but we use 100% of our business to fund projects all over the world. In fact, many countries, including the United States of America. But we're currently building 1,000 homes here in Nicaragua, and that's a part of King's Ransom Foundation. Anyway, I wanted to kind of just, first of all, just let you know that there's probably going to be some videos that we'll be doing over the next few days. And the other thing is that, man, so many responses going on right now. Hi. Anyway, but we use 100%. Every book that I write, the products that we produce, the seminars that we do, which we just came out of Cleveland with 1,100 people in Cleveland, Ohio, 100% of the profits goes, and I don't take a salary. I don't take any bonuses. I don't touch the profits at all. Just 100% of that business profits, and the salary goes completely to taking care of the widows, the elderly, the sick, the orphan, the extreme poor. And I mean extreme poor. And I can't wait to get out to this little town called Hiquilillo and a place called El Lomanel that we just finished over 101 brand new homes for. But anyway, I wanted to talk to you about if you're a mom and you have kids, and I can only do this video real short because my nephew's on his way. My father is from Managua, Nicaragua, and he doesn't live here, but this is where he was born and raised. So anyway, I have family that's coming to say hi tonight. So I'm just going to unpack, and I wanted to talk to you while I was unpacking, and basically talk to you about your kids being on or your kids being taken to foreign countries, especially countries that are extremely poor. This is something that my husband Hans and I have been doing for 11 years. 11 years ago was the very first time that we brought our kids to a developing country. Belize was the first, and that for us that was like shocking, but Belize is much more successful than a country like Nicaragua or Haiti or things like that. But we raised our kids around the homeless. In fact, the homeless, I think we started with that like in the downtown San Francisco, serving the homeless, like, all of us as a family, clipping their toenails, cooking them a hot meal, cutting their hair, whatever it was that their needs were, that we would do that. And this was a really powerful thing that we did with our kids because of what it did for them. We are in such a generation right now of insanely entitled people, right? Like, it's not just the kids, because the kids have learned it from their parents to be entitled. And so one of the ways that we decided to kind of break that and get them away from 98% of the population who ends up dead or dead broke, and away from the mindset of being entitled. And of course, our kids were raised in, something that was a bit more blessed. They lived in a prosperous family that my husband and I worked very hard, because we both grew up very poor on welfare. And, my poor husband had to go and sew flour lace. He grew up in Hawaii, and, just to put food on the table for himself and his 6-year-old brother. And then, of course, my mom and stepdad, they made other choices financially with the welfare check, and it wasn't a great idea. And we were on welfare till I was about 12 and a half, 13, something like that. Anyway, so the point is that our kids were being raised in a totally different place. You know what I mean? They were being raised in a nice house. They were being raised around nice cars. They had, when I wasn't homeschooling them, they had a private, Christian school education. But we did not want to raise spoiled, rotten brats, and we did not want to raise kids that were not aware of hardship and hard times. And so we did start with the homeless and doing things like surprising families who had nothing. We didn't do Christmas anymore, starting in, it's early 2001, maybe. Yeah, it might have been 2000. No, before that, my goodness, it was in the 90s, to where, we were just like, this is ridiculous. Our kids don't need anything. Everyone we know doesn't need anything. Let's just like rally together, and the money that we normally would spend on a Christmas budget, let's just, go and find and secretly, it's called secret blessings is what I called it. Let's go secretly take care of families who are really in a rough spot. They have no food. They don't have any heat. They don't have jackets for their kids. They don't have anything. They're really, really struggling. And so we started to do that with our kids when they were, well, Micah would have been a baby. He's now 17 now. And so they've been raised around that. So there's two things I wanted to talk to you about. I think one of the greatest forms of part of an education that I think kids should have, and I wrote about this in the book, Grooming the Next Generation for Success, and also in the home study course. Because if you have kids, number one, you yourself is going to have to fight against this entitled culture that we live in. Adults more today are more entitled than I've ever seen in my life. And we live in a place where we can be and make and do anything we want to do. Like we can become anything. And hello, I was a former homeless woman who's now a multimillionaire. So I get the, starting from nothing and being like, I so screwed up in so many ways in my early years. And I know what it takes to succeed. And I know how simple it is. Okay, not easy, but it was simple to succeed. And so anyway, so I this culture that we're in that is so entitled and so ungrateful. I mean, here people, have everything they would ever need, right? They have everything and more that they would ever need. And yet, what do we have? Ungrateful people who feel like they should be getting more. Somebody owes them something, whether it's their boss that owes them something, or their family that owes them something, their 3 ex-husbands or 4 ex-wives that owe them something, their kids that owe them something, their parents owe them something. Like there's just always this kind of thing, like somebody owes me something, which I think is a sad thing. So it's a part of our culture and the adults are teaching this entitlement mentality to their children. And that is a very scary equation. And so one of the things that we did to combat that was that we had our kids around the extreme poor in our own towns and our own cities. And then also, and I think this is important to do, is rather than going on another fluffy vacation, take your kids to a place like Nicaragua. Take them to a place like Haiti. And these are close to the United States, okay? And if you're on the West Coast, take them down into some of the poorest areas in Mexico. And let them be a part of helping people who have no food. Let them be a part of working towards something that is amazing, whether it's bringing clothing, bringing food, bringing water, or being a part of something like what we're doing. We're building 1,000 homes right here in the extreme parts, extremely poor parts of Nicaragua. And so if you do that, which Micah and I, next week, we're going to be spending the entire time with families that we built 30 homes for. Like we built this entire village. And so we're going to go spend some time with those families, just chillaxing with them, getting to know them and loving on them and being a part of their lives and having the chance to learn from them. Because when these people have been so extremely poor, and I'm telling you, like extremely poor, it's not good light, is it? And I'm serious, like insanely, extremely poor. They had no house, they were living in plastic. They had no food, had no clean water. And in this little village that's on the coast, they're once a month, whenever the full moon is out, their whole house would be washed out because it's plastic, you know what I mean? And scrap metal and scrap wood. And so it was a terrible thing. And all the bugs that they would have to deal with because of this, flooding that happened every full moon, which again is like once a month. So anyway, so this has wrecked our kids. Our kids today, all of them, have a heart for the poor. They have a heart for the homeless. They have a heart for the elderly. They have a heart for the orphan and the sick. And
what are the odds that all 5 of them do? Okay, literally, all 5 of them have been a part of projects of taking care of orphans or building orphanages or building houses for the extreme poor. And I believe that this has put a different kind of character in our kids that is just not normal in today's world. And it's not common around even the places that we live. Like, it's just not common. You know, we have kids that are more concerned about the video games, they're more concerned about their cars, they're more concerned about their, what they're wearing, they're more concerned about crap that just doesn't matter, versus like being concerned about character and having a purpose and doing something great with your life that has to do with impacting and affecting other people's lives and helping somebody else's life actually get better. And so I just wanted to pass that on to you. Like I said, I wrote about this a lot in the book, Grooming the Next Generation for Success, which also has a home study course about how to pull your kids out of this entitled culture. How do you pull these kids out of this culture where they're using you as an ATM machine, and then they're really pissy with you when you are not buying them the designer this and designer that. My kids wore Walmart clothes, okay? And they had a budget for amount of shoes and clothing yearly. And if they want to spend more, they're going to have to make their own money. And with them making their own money, we taught them how to budget that money. And they couldn't blow all their money on junk, and they couldn't blow all their money on shoes and clothes and entertainment. They had to like set a portion of that money set aside for taking care of the poor first. They had to set a certain portion aside for savings. They had to set a certain portion aside for building wealth for their first house that they would buy, which our son at 15 bought his first house. He's been a landlord now for 3 years. Yeah, it's been 3 years. He's 18. So anyway, I want to pass that on to you because we have got to do something. I mean, I know you know the mess the world is today and the mess that our culture is, and just the global culture is just messy. And when I look at the next generation that is going to raise up presidents one day and heads of households and heads of companies and the future writers of books one day and the future developers of movies and entertainment, I'm scared. What about you? I am really, really concerned about the lack of leadership that is being trained up in this next generation. I'm really concerned at the level of greed. I'm concerned about the level of self-addiction, meaning worshiping oneself and building your own kingdom, like the kingdom of self. I'm really concerned. It's like we have like 2 ways. It's like greedy, entitled kids, and I know they're not happy. And then the flip side of it is kids who are harming themselves, kids who are cutting themselves, kids who are suicidal, kids who are obese, kids who have no purpose, no vision. Both the 2 types of kids I'm talking about are the same boat. Neither one of them have vision. None of them have purpose. And they're trying to find their identity in stuff. They're trying to find their identity in the clothes that they wear or what their body looks like or what kind of entertainment they have access to, what brand is on their butt, or brand that's on their shirt. Like it's ridiculous that we have taught these kids to find their identity in stuff. We've taught these kids to find their identity in what school they're going to, or they're finding their identity in cutting themselves or putting 2 fingers down their throat after they've eaten because they don't want to be fat or whatever. And that's why something like Grooming the Next Generation for Success is so important, is that you teach your children to have their identity in something that is so much more powerful and more purpose than money and stuff and image, but that they have a healthy self-image. In fact, I think that's chapter 2 or something like that about self-image, because how do you groom the right self-image in your kids, and how do you help them to understand what their identity is and who their identity is in instead of what their identity is in? So that means I have to go get my nephew, Carlos Delgado. If you've spent any time on our Facebook page on Dani Johnson Espanol and our Spanish website. Anyway, this is going to be a heck of an adventure. I got 2 weeks down here in Central America. We've got Honduras and Nicaragua. Super excited about it. But hopefully we'll do some more videos, maybe talking about kids, maybe talking about what we can do to make a difference in the world, how we can improve people's lives and find purpose in that, and in that, helping others find safety and comfort and food and water and things like that when they have none, what that does to you. All right, God bless you. I hope this was helpful. If it was, share it with other people. Join us again right here, or you can go over to our website, Dani Johnson, right there, DaniJohnson.com. God bless you. Bye.